some potting. We gonna do some potting. But okay, so let's intro this. Let's get the people ready. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Things Fall Apart podcast. This is the start of season 2. Season 2. We gonna try to bring y'all content every month this year to make sure y'all have some good stories. Y'all know, like I said, I want to have some good storytelling pods where y'all can be introduced to new people, but y'all can also learn new things, and hopefully their stories can help you help yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like I've spoke previously about just myself and how I've experienced depression, anxiety, but also how I came from a family that, was in poverty for a while. And none of those things, held me back. They slowed me down for a little bit, but it's how you get over things to get you started. So today, I got my homie, one of my best friends, Travis Pickett, artistically known as Art Soul Life.
Yeah.
What's up, my brother?
Hey, man, I feel good, man. I feel great, honestly.
Bro,
I need to be here. It's a long time coming, though.
Yeah, it's a long time, because I've been talking to, I started this podcast during the pandemic, but I've actually been thinking about doing this podcast for years. Mm-hmm. And so the pandemic and the downtime at home just provided me the time and opportunity that I needed to do it. And so, we've been talked about you coming on the pod just because, like I said, we always have great conversations, and I know you will have a good story for the people to hear.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you came on. I'm happy that you're here today because the people will get to be introduced to, number one, I think they'll be able to learn more about me through this conversation and our friendship, but also they'll be able to be attached and learn about some art. And like me, I'm all about putting on for the culture. And I think the culture also includes those type of arts that aren't always front row and center, like online. Like it's not music, it's not potting, but it's like we using wood, we put pens to paper, all that good stuff. Yeah. Because people, a lot of people probably won't know you was a poet too, or you're still a poet. Let me say.
When I say power, y'all say lines. Power, power. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what you are about to bear witness to is action personified. Lyrics lunging themselves at you in full IMAX 3D. Power, power, lyrical gymnastics and fantastic raptures of verbiage. Onomatopoeias bounce off of trampolines created by these wordsmiths. Power, power. Poets bringing you pure unadulterated voltage. 7,423 gigawatts of raw passion, bringing a shock to your system and some light to your vision. Power, power. Martin Luther King bench pressing the dreams of an entire culture. A brolic rhyme scheme and a style so mean. Power, power. Maya Angelou penning haikus with the same blood that drips from the leaves of these southern trees. Power, power. Mother Earth giving birth to a seed of hope. Now watch how this strange fruit challenges your views, changes your thinking, and molds your mind into matter that only the masters of the universe could fathom. Power, power. I'm talking Martin, Malcolm, August, and Mandela, mastermind of the new Black Power movement. Black fists raised in peace, but I will show my peace. You try to take a piece of my peace. Power, power. Y'all like that alliteration, huh? I get on stage and do my thing, huh? Y'all didn't think I knew how to play it, huh? Power, power.
But no, it's complicated with poetry because I still write from time to time. I still get bursts of ideas. I might get 3-4 lines, gotta write them down, I just put them away, and I just got stacks and stacks of those tucked away. One day I'm gonna sit down and put something together. I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently. I got one more show in me. I got one more in me.
It's like I get it, and it's like I haven't performed poetry. Shoot, Build a Fire 2015. Cool. And I basically haven't written any poetry since I started my PhD program.
Yeah.
And so I got a journal now that I try to journal, and in my journal I try to get some writing in as I'm journaling, just to try to get back to the essence of who I am. Because like I always say, and I tell people, it's difficult to be a creative who's not being creative.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times, even when I'm working on academic writing, I now try to figure out ways to make it creative in the way that the words roll on the page, the way it sounds. Because one thing that they'll do for us when we get into academia is they'll try to basically neutralize who you are as a person to make everybody fit into like this cookie cutter mold of what an educator or what an academic looks like. Mm-hmm. And why would I want to do that, especially as a black person?
Yeah.
Just because it's like it's hard for a lot of kids, especially at like PWIs, to experience black professors.
Exactly.
And so for me, a person who gets to be in that position, it's like they need to see that, like, no, like this is Eugene who grew up between Glen Oaks Parktown and South Baton Rouge. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have to know, like, so number one, most of my students are close to my age. But number two, like, my students will go find me on Instagram or something. And if you log on Instagram the right day, you might see me on the Instagram stories listening to Young Boy.
Exactly.
And so it's like the students like, oh, this dude like us. Like, I remember I came to class one day. It was a Friday, and I try to do like like casual Fridays instead of teaching and like slacks and stuff. And I came with like my OG Jordan ones, the black and red, and they like, this is our professor with the Jordan ones on. I'm like I'm 28. Like, what are y'all?
How old do y'all think I am?
Y'all acting like I'm 40. Like, just because I'm in this position at an age, like, albeit at an age that most people aren't here, it's like that doesn't mean I have to change who I am. And a lot of times, black people, especially, like, if you think about your professors at Southern, they'll try to put themselves in this place where they disregard who they are in certain instances, specifically to fit into like a status quo.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to come to class with my button-down shirt on and my slacks and my black shoes, and I'm going to teach.
See, I only experienced that outside of my major, because I was there when Southern still had an art department. So I got my degree in art, and all my professors inside my department were 100% the antithesis of what you're talking about.
And the art department, I can't remember the professor I had, but it was right before they redid Frank Hayden Hall. And I took like a history of art class for summer because I needed another elective. And first day of class, he came in a dashiki.
Mr. Cox.
That's who it was.
Exactly. That's Mr.
He
Cox.
came in a dashiki, and I was just like, bro, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But I guess for the people, let's start like early. Like, where are you from?
I'm from New Orleans.
From New Orleans. What part of New Orleans are you from?
In the east.
All right, you from New Orleans?
East.
From the far east.
I can walk to Jazz Land.
Okay. Oh wow, that's super close.
Yeah.
So and it's like Natasha has family in the east right now, so I know exactly what you're talking about. How long have you been in Baton Rouge?
Okay, so I gotta give you the total time.
Okay.
I graduated high school 2007, came to Southern. I was at Southern from 2007 to 2012, graduated spring 12. Went back to New Orleans from 2012 to, what was it, like summer 2016, right around Alton Sterling.
Yeah.
August of that year, me and my then girlfriend, now wife, we moved to Colorado.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because she got accepted into a graduate school program up there. And we had just gotten back together at the beginning of that year. And she asked me one day, early in the summer, she said, I got accepted into the school and I really want to go. And I want you to come with me. And I didn't even think twice about it. I said, all right, let's go. And I think, like, at that moment, I instantaneously and subconsciously made the decision that I was about to get married. But I just didn't know when it was exactly. But I felt like the fact that I didn't even have to spend a millisecond thinking about that decision, I was like, yeah, this is more than likely going in that direction. And
I remember when you sent us the text message in our old group text when you asked her to marry you. I remember you sent the picture. But no, so like that makes perfect sense. And I think a lot of people will wonder about that decision because most of the time it's a woman moving for a man. And for you to be able to make the decision like instantly at that moment to say, yeah, I'm good, we can move there. And also understand the implications of what moving there meant. That's number one, that's powerful, but number two, that's needed. Yeah. So like people need to understand those things. And now y'all have two beautiful, amazing young boys.
Man, yeah, married with 2 boys. One is about to be 3. The next one is about to be 1.
Yeah, because Alexander's birthday is April 4th.
Yeah,
right?
Alexander is 4-4 and Elijah is 3-3. It's wild how that happened, but it just happened like that.
I remember when Alexander was on the way, y'all was thinking about y'all had a date in mind that he might be born, and I was like, oh, he about to be a Pisces. He about to be a Pisces. And then he kept going. He missed. And then when Elijah came, I was like, he about to be a Pisces. And it happened. I remember both times. But so you moved from New Orleans in 2007 for college.
Yeah.
Graduated 2012. Mm-hmm. You've been to Colorado, back to New Orleans. You're now settled here.
Yeah.
But you get around for your art, correct?
Yeah. Whenever.
Of course, outside of COVID.
Yeah. Outside of COVID, but yeah, like if there was a show and there was a means for me to show art and make like real solid connections and potentially make a sale, then I was there. Because it's easy for me to pack up the car and drive to the location.
Yeah.
If the opportunity is there for me to, like I said, really make genuine connections with people. Because one thing I realized, especially dealing with COVID, is my art doesn't translate digitally.
Okay.
Like, I would say 85 to 90% of all of the sales on art that I've made have been either from people who have seen the art and came back and purchased, or have seen it for the first time and purchased it on the spot in person.
Yeah.
Because it's never just the art. It's a lot of the times it's the story that comes along with the art. It's how the artist got to connecting with that person at that time that will sell the piece. Yeah. And not even necessarily sell it in a monetarily value, but sell it in a way that
they
they can buy into who you are as a creative and the things that you create as a creative. So learning how to navigate the world of, okay, you have to sell this art some kind of way if you want to make it a means to provide for your family. Yeah. Because I work a 9 to 5. My 9 to 5 is cool. I'm not in love with it, but that's generally the story with most creatives, or most people, period. Is like, I work this job to supplement the things that I love. And I want to get to a point where I can use the things that I love to finance my entire life.
Yeah.
So I'm using this job and using the things that this job is teaching me and translating that into my art where it's applicable.
Yeah.
Like where I work now, I work at a place that honestly it's gotten to a point where it's gotten kind of monotonous, but I do the job, I do it well, I do it to the best of my abilities, because I never want to half-ass anything. Like, I still want to do well, I still want to make money, I still want to get promoted, you know what I'm saying? I still need to move up and show that I'm not trying to be stagnant. I never want to be stagnant in anything that I do, but this is not something that I'm passionate about. I want to make art, and I want to make a living off of making my art.
Right.
So that comes back to me trying to figure out how to maneuver making art in a post-COVID society. And, it's a day-to-day process, but I feel like I'm figuring it out. Like, I got a pretty good idea how I want to do this, because my art has evolved from, I want to say, the beginning of 2019, I want to say midway through 2019, going into 2020. The art that I've been making since then is completely different from the art that I made up till about the time that we moved back. So the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So I would say there was a year and a half span where I wasn't really making any art. I was trying to get used to the fact that, hey, I'm back in Louisiana, father now, I'm a husband now. Like, it was completely different life change that I had to get adjusted to before I could get back to me and figure out who I was as an artist because I've had to figure out who I was as a person, period.
Yeah. So it's that notion right there. I feel like we're gonna touch on that again later in the podcast. Mm-hmm. But going back to you saying trying to figure out a way of selling your art, but not necessarily monetarily selling it, but finding a way for people to connect with it. Mm-hmm. It's like I know I bought either a print from you or a stamp from you in like 2015.
Yeah.
And so, but then I was like, okay, I'm always like, because one thing I try to do is I always try to support my friends. Mm-hmm. Like when I was looking for a DJ for my wedding, that's in June, the first thing I did was I asked Sage.
Yeah.
And Sage was like, nah, I don't really like weddings. I want to like be able to enjoy the wedding. I'm like, that's cool. Yeah. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to make that money first. And so it's like, I know I seen this piece at your house for your birthday.
Yeah, yeah.
And the whole time I saw that piece, I remember I was broke when I seen it. But the whole time I was like, whenever I have money, I'm going to go back and ask Trav how much that piece cost. And so I think, you sold this for $250, $270, something like that. And like, if you would have said like $400, I was still going to buy it.
Yeah.
And because the thing is like, so number one, Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory is one of my favorite groups, one of the favorite artists I like to listen to. But it specifically brought me to a place of like childhood and growing up. Because when I was growing up, like my stepdad used to always make fun of me. Like when we got in the car, my stepdad would always put on like gangster rap, West Coast. Yeah. Like I was throwing up W's when I was like 4. You know?
Yeah.
Who boy? But you know, my stepdad, he's putting on Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Too Short, Dub C, Mac 10. Yeah. But then it's like when I go in the house and I'm listening to the box and stuff like that, I would see like, a Tribe Called Quest. I would see De La Soul. I would see, that whole little Native Tongues type of group. My stepdad used to always call me Neo Soul. And that didn't, when I finally developed my little soul patch, that didn't help. But for me, being a Southern kid who was in love with like that type of, certain distinct, form of Northern rap. Yeah. That type of, Native Tongues, artsy, creative, Afrocentric style rap.
That jazz-based
boom bap. Like for me, this takes me back to childhood. Yeah. But that also kind of details and explains who I am as a person. Because if people know me, they know it's like I love music. Yeah. They know I'm one of these like Afrocentric. I like to always tell somebody about some type of history, type of people. They know about like my past and my history of being involved in like protest and politics and stuff like that. So all of this makes perfect sense for me. Especially as somebody that like, my freshman year on Southern campus, I was still making beats at the time. And it's like, I'm not going to say like my beats were great, but my beats were definitely this kind of Kanye West, Ninth Wonder, Jay Dilla inspired beat making that I was trying to get, which is funny. Like, I just think making that statement, I think about, I just got my wisdom teeth extracted on Tuesday. Like, my mouth is killing me right now recording this. But it's like, Kanye, I'm like, they can't stop me from buying, through the wire, right here is spitting. And so, like, this piece, it sells to me. Yeah. It connects with me. And so one thing that I've noticed about your artwork is, so number one, you do have, and that's one of the reasons like we are good friends, is our love for music. And I see that you have figured out a way to implement your love for music into your artwork. Yes. So I'm guessing just like growing up, before we get to like that art, how did you find your love for music?
So it's a wild, like not really wild, but it's unique because I don't know too many people who had this kind of specific upbringing. From middle school from 7th grade to maybe 11th grade, the beginning of 11th grade, because 11th grade was when Katrina happened for me. But in that time, my parents didn't let me watch TV during the week. Okay. All I had was the radio. So all I had was music. I wouldn't just be sitting in silence. That would drive me crazy. Same. So I would be listening to the radio. And in New Orleans, that was, when I was coming up, that was B97. That would play like top 40. hits. Q93 played the hip hop.
Of course.
FM 98 played the old school R&B. And then they had this other station, Mix 104.1, that played everything. That was my favorite station because they played everything. They played the hip hop, they played pop, they played R&B, they played everything. They played the most eclectic blend of music, and that kind of like shaped my ear. Like I always wanted to hear variations of things. I never really got stuck in one genre. Like this is all I want to listen to. This is the only thing I want to ever listen to. Nah, that was never the case. And so my dad inadvertently had a hand in shaping my musical mind because he had, and most black families can attest to this, their father or parents had the entertainment console in the living room with either a shit ton of vinyl records or a shit ton of CDs and cassettes. My dad had a shit ton of CDs, and he wouldn't really be listening to all of them. I'd say it'd be maybe like 200 CDs, and he had maybe 5 in rotation. And I remember the 5 that he had in rotation for a very long time. It was like Keith Sweat, Make It Last Forever.
Oh,
yeah. The album was fire. I remember stealing that from him. It was the Third World Greatest Hits, which is a reggae group that I really fuck with. They got a track called Sense of Purpose, which is like their biggest hit, but I love that song. He really liked As Yet, that CD that had Last Night on it. What else was it? It was one more. Oh, the Blackstreet, the Next Level album with No Diggity.
Yeah.
He ran that joint out and still posts greatest hits as well. Like that was his 5 that he just was go to, but he had like 200 other CDs in his entertainment console. And like every week I would just go be like, what looks interesting? And I remember the first one I grabbed when I was just looking for new things to listen to. The first one I grabbed was this holographic jewel case CD of Prince, Diamonds and Pearls. And I was like, this looks interesting. I like some Prince songs. Let me see what this is about. And the first record on that album is Thunder. And I was like, Prince came in with the vocals, no music, thunder, all through the night. Promise to see Jesus in the morning. Like, take my hand, it'll be all right. Come on, save your soul tonight. And I was like, oh, all right. And just that whole album spoke to me. And I was like, okay, I get the hype from Prince now, from this album. Because you got to understand, this is like maybe 2002, 2003. And I'm 12, 13 years old, just really listening to Prince, really listening to that, listening to Jodeci, the Forever My Lady album, Miseducation, Lauryn Hill. Just picking up on so many different genres of music from my dad inadvertently. He didn't like, because we didn't really have that great of like a speaking relationship, but just the music that he listened to shaped the music that I listen to now. Because now I listen to everything.
Nah, I get that. And so my relationship with music is kind of the same way, except it's with my grandmother. And so one thing about me is if you ever come around my family, they're going to call me an old man. Number one, because I like staying in my house. Number two is because all I do is sit down and read. Like I used to as a kid. I would get a newspaper. I would go to the store, get my mama a newspaper, and I would get me a newspaper. And I would sit in the front yard and drink coffee and read a newspaper at like 12 years old. And so it's like, I always say, when I build my house, I'm going to put a porch, like a wraparound porch around the whole house. But I remember one of the first albums that is insane because I know so many people who have inadvertently have a Prince story in their fall in love with music. And the Prince album for me was New Power Soul. It was Prince New Generation.
With a new power generation.
And the thing is, you can barely find that album anywhere right now. Like, it's not on streaming services, nothing like that. And I inadvertently found, I searched for it, trying to find it through torrents a couple years ago.
Oh, man.
But
good old days.
Put that down. But it's like my thing is, I used to just always, like my grandmother had this old truck. It was like a 1980s, like Ford truck or something like that. And all it had was a cassette player. But her and my dad, the guy who's basically my grandfather, they were roofers. And so literally you get in the car, all there's beer cans and cassette tapes. Empty beer cans and cassette tapes. And every time you get in the car, you put something in. And I'm like, ooh, I like this. Oh, this is the Gap Band.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. Then they put something else in. And it's like, oh, this is the Isley Brothers. Ooh. Yeah. Then they put something else in. Now it's like, oh, this is Donna Summers? Okay. I like this. But then one thing is about my dad is like, if I ever show you a picture of him, he looked like a fake Marvin Gaye. But the thing is, he used to love like just instrumentation, jazz. So it's like I could listen to Coltrane at like 8 years old and something that I love. And I think one of the things when I think about the music that I love now, because I also listen to everything, but the music that I love, and it's something that Natasha, she gets mad at me for, is I can call out the samples in music. And I'm the type of person, I would create an entire playlist of just the song and then every song that is sampled from. Uh-huh. And so, like, our road trip, we took like a 12-hour road trip one time. I created an entire road trip playlist of just the song and the samples.
You gonna get this work.
You gonna get this work. And so it's like, that's one of those things where it's like I can connect my love for a certain sound of music directly to the music I was listening to as a kid. Yeah. But also I think about when I was coming into my own, and I think about like you're listening to these different types of music, these different genres, because everybody know me. I probably listen to like pop, punk, rock just as much as I listen to rap. Yeah. Like what Kevin Gates said that I prefer to play pop music. I just able to rap. Like, you know, and that's kind of how it is. It's like
quick sidebar. You said pop punk. Avril Lavigne is on a new record, a new.
So I literally just tweeted about this like an hour ago. So number one, it sounded great. Yeah. But number two, what was crazy for me that other people probably won't understand is the guy she was on the song with, my son. Yeah. My son was like a hippie stoner rapper.
He was. That's why I saw the name and I was like, wait a minute.
My
this
son,
don't look
long
like the
hair,
same My Son.
You know,
yeah,
I got green hair, but my son's
I have albums from My Son in my iTunes.
And so, like, the thing is, I used to love my son when he would get together with Johnny Craig. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to pop rock, you know Johnny Craig, Owls and Glaciers, so many other groups like that. He has an amazing voice. Mm-hmm. Just Johnny Craig, he's a guy that battled addiction, but his music was just always like crazy. And so when I heard My Son, I'm like, nah, bro. I know this is not my son who was on like, this road has become my life. Like that, you know? That's not that same My Son, but the song sounded great.
The song is fine.
I felt Alvaro with the boots and the Doc Martens and the guitar. Yeah. I'm loving it. But it's just like, I love all those different types of music. And so like Natasha, she knows me. One thing I can't do is I can't sit still. Yeah. And number two is I can't be in silence. Yep. When I'm working, I always have to have something playing. So like literally, like when we finish this podcast, I might go in the room and play video games. Yeah. But she knows when I'm playing video games, a playlist is about to come on. Exactly. A new album is about to come on. And so it's just like, I feel like a lot of people don't understand how there's a connection between your musical taste and just like who you are as a person. Yeah. Because I think about a lot of stuff that I learned from music. Like, I basically learned how to not be homophobic because of listening to Eminem. Because I would listen to the Marshall Mathers LP and the Slim Shady LP, and I'd be like, wait, hold on. I don't think this is
not okay.
This is not okay. Like, you know, funny.
Like, your bars are tight, but fam, chill out.
Funny story. My parents, the first pieces of music I owned, not the first pieces of music that I bought, but the first pieces of music that I owned was the Marshall Mathers LP and Stank On Ya. Yeah. And so though they came out like the same Christmas, or maybe I'm mistaken the Outkast album, but they came out the same Christmas around the same time, and my parents got me a Sony cassette tape from a player from Walmart, and they got me tapes. Both tapes were supposed to be the censored version. And my stepdad was like, well, let me see what he listened to. He's been listening to this Eminem album over and over. Now, if y'all remember when you were kids, the only Eminem songs before like Stan and Cleaning Out My Closet that were on TV were Hi, my name is, I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm those type of songs. It was always colorful, caricatures, animated, this type of stuff.
And the clean version.
And the clean versions. When my stepdad listened to the Marshall Mathers LP on the way to work, he was like, Carol, you don't know what this boy be listening to. And so my parents were like, they didn't get mad at me, but they were like, you ain't even say nothing.
Yeah. You just let this shit ride.
Yeah. They didn't say anything whatsoever. And so it was just so funny because I'm lit. And okay, let's be honest. Marshall Mathers LP is probably one of the greatest rap albums of all time.
Yeah.
Like, even when you get to like the end, when it's like, you don't really wanna with me. That's a oh no, big slim dog, 80-pound balls. Like, come on, bro. The album's crazy. But I'm not gonna get into that. But I can get with your story about how you fell in love with music.
Yeah. And
how it still plays a part in your life today. But so one part, like an offshoot of that conversation is, how did you get involved with art? Like, how did you start your process? Not of becoming an artist, but just loving the process.
That goes back to fourth grade. First year in public school. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten through third. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't, my parents realized that wasn't really challenging me. Educational, like, I would be done with my work like that and then start messing with people because I was bored. So they put me in public school because they had a gifted program. Mm-hmm. So I get to public school, there's a gifted program, everything's cool, I'm hanging out, having a good time, meet new people, all this, that, and the third. But in the library, I remember it was the first library day, and they said we can check out 2 books, keep 2 books, 3 weeks, bring them back. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So I go and I'm looking through all the sections, and just this one book speaks to me. Ed Emberley's Big Green Book of Drawing. I'll never forget this book. It was about 11 by 17, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick, maybe. Hardcover book. And it was all just instructional drawings of things that were green. And I remember I checked this book out and I drew everything in the book in 2 weeks. And I was like, well, is there more? And sure enough, Ed Emberley has a big red book of drawing, a big purple book of drawing, a big orange book of drawing. I checked all these books out. They only had the red and the green and the orange at the library. I remember the orange one was like a Halloween theme. And the red one was kind of Christmassy. And I had to find the purple one. I had to buy the purple one. I remember book day came around. You remember book day when it used to come and they give you the little
like the book fair?
Yeah, the book fair.
Nah, see, if you had money for the book fair, you was lucky. My mama gave me a 10 and said, I want my change.
Bruh.
Bruh. That wasn't a happy day for me because I could just go and look at stuff that I wasn't able to get.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I got in trouble because y'all remember they had the sports books where you can get the life-size posters.
Yeah.
So if you know me, everybody knows when I was growing up, there was 2 sports teams that I love in the NBA. Basketball, my favorite sport. The Magic and the Spurs. Now, the reason I'm not a Spurs fan anymore is because the New Orleans Pelicans, ergo Hornets, came to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. But I got a Tim Duncan book because Tim Duncan is literally my second favorite athlete. And it had a 7-foot Tim Duncan poster. The book came out to be $10.98 after tax. My mama gave me a $10 bill.
Yeah.
I asked one of my friends, could I have $1? I came back with the book. My mama said, "Well, my change at?" And I was like,
it was $11.
And I got whooped for buying a book. But my mom was like, I told you to bring back my change. If it was more than $10, you shouldn't have bought it.
Bruh.
And there was clear rules. So if you had that day, I'm gonna let you finish that. That don't bring back good memories for
me. Damn. That's fine. Yeah, man. I remember I saw that book because I remember at the beginning of the week they gave a pamphlet that had all the books that would be at the book fair. Mm-hmm. And I saw this book and I was like, the library ain't got this one. I need to get this one. It was like $15, bro. I had to beg my mom to give me $15 to get this book. But she got me the book, and I was the happiest person in the world to get like the final Ed Emily book. And I finished that book, and I was like, all right, what do I do next? So I was like, well, what do I like? I like Dragon Ball Z. I like Gundam Wing.
Of course.
Let me draw these guys. So that's what I was drawing. I was drawing Black Goku, like every other black kid on Earth was drawing. I was drawing crazy Gundam Wing design. And oddly enough, I started getting into like wild stuff that you wouldn't expect like an 11, 12-year-old to be drawing. I remember going to the supermarket and they would have the free books, like when you walk in where like the quarter machines was at, they would have the free books that would have used cars in them. Yeah. So I picked them up and I would start drawing cars from the used car books. And I would start drawing floor plans and layouts for buildings and apartments and shit. And I'm 11, 12 years old doing basic architecture. Like, what is really going on with me? Yeah. But the wild part is I stopped drawing from, what was that? Let's see. About 7th grade? Let me see. 7th and 8th grade. 7th and 8th grade, I was at McMahon in New Orleans. And I was in talented and visual arts. And I had an art teacher named Mr. Webb. And he never wanted me to draw how I wanted to draw. I wanted to be an animator when I was a child. Like, when I started really getting into drawing, I said, I want to make cartoons. I want to do the fucking cells. I want to draw 100 cells of this character to make this nigga throw one punch. That's what I wanted to do. But, like, I get where he was coming from, but he had just a very heavy-handed approach about what he was doing. Because he always wanted me to draw from realism. And I was like, that's not what I want to do.
And so, I want to speak to that point for a second. Because, so I was also a gifted and talented kid. And I was in talented art and talented drama. So, when I used to draw, like you said, I was into Dragon Ball Z, I was into Gundam, stuff like that. So I would literally just go print 100 Dragon Ball Z pictures off the internet and then freehand draw them. Funny story, my stepdad still to this day has a picture of future Trunks on the wall in his room because I drew it for him for his birthday when I was in 3rd grade. Bruh. Future Trunks. But the thing is, when I was in middle school and I was able to get into talented art, the first thing they told me, if you want to pass the test, you cannot draw a cartoon character. You cannot draw something that isn't real. They were like, you need to draw landscapes, you need to draw animals, you need to draw, if you want to draw something in a position, draw an aquarium, something like that. And so my thing was, I was in talented art for 1 year because I just wasn't interested in drawing the things that they wanted me to draw. Yeah. And so, like, literally around that point in time, that's when I transitioned from, like, artwork to poetry. Yeah. Because I just wanted to draw cartoon characters.
And that's why I got out of it after 8th grade. I told my mom, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. Because we would have, at the beginning of the year, one of the things on our supply list was, the black hardcover sketchbook. And every week we would have to turn in 5 drawings. A still life, a portrait, a landscape, and 2 of whatever else you want to do. The thing about me was, I would always draw cartoons. Like, I would give you 5 drawings, but there would be 5 detailed cartoon drawings. He would always just give me like mid-level grades because I wasn't giving him, landscape, portrait, and still life. And so, like, 2 weeks I got tired of him telling me to draw from life. He kept telling me, very good, but draw from life. So I said, all right. I felt like he didn't think I could. So for 2 weeks, I gave him 10 drawings that was all still life, portrait, and landscape. I remember one day I sat in the back of my science class. In the back of my earth science class, and I drew the entire classroom. Like, I drew the backs of everybody's head. I drew what was on the chalkboard. I drew the door, the windows, all the beakers on the side. I drew that bitch, like, perfectly. And that was my still life. I drew a landscape. I drew, like, the front of the building. I drew half of my face. And I turned at it. He was like, very good. Where has this been? And I said, I never said I couldn't draw. You knew I could draw. I just don't want to do this. I don't like doing this. I can because I'm talented at art, but I don't want to be a still life drawer. I want to make animation. I want you to help me be better at this so I can do what I want to do.
So you kind of felt like your creativity was being stifled.
Exactly. So I was like, after 8th grade, I was like, fuck it, I'm just done with this. And from 8th to college, I didn't do any art. I just wasn't interested.
Okay.
Like, that was it.
And so from 8 to college, because so basically high school is your formative years.
Yeah.
That's where you're figuring out like who you are, what you want to do when you grow up. So what did you want to do when you were graduating high school? What did you feel like your job would be?
Accounting.
Oh, wow. What is your degree in?
My degree is in visual art.
Okay.
When I graduated high school, I wanted to go to college to get a degree in accounting because I took an accounting class my senior year in high school. I got an A in my accounting class because I was very good at balancing books, which is very weird because I do not like math at all. But I can balance the fuck out of some books if you give me some time and all the information. But I got to Southern, accounting major from freshman year. And then I saw all of the math that you had to take to get a degree in accounting. And I said, this isn't going to work. I got to take calculus. I'm not going to pass calculus.
Yeah.
I took trigonometry when I was in Arkansas after Katrina. I took trigonometry, and I did not pass. Like, I flat out failed that class because anything past, like, Algebra 2, honestly, is too complex for me. Like, everybody just has a limitation on things that they can do, and you just know it. And, like, I knew after the second week of trigonometry that this was not going to be for me. Like, I lucked up and got a D for the first half of trigonometry. And I flat out failed the second half. And I said, I'm never going to take a math this hard again in my life. But I got, like I said, after Katrina, when Katrina hit, I was in Arkansas for a year. I was in Conway, Arkansas for a year. And after my junior year, I went back to New Orleans for my senior year of high school. And I went to McDonald 35. That's why I took the accounting class, got an A. Head got blown up because my teacher, she was like, oh, you could be really good at this. And I said, I could be really good at this too. And I was looking at the median salary for accounting. They said, yeah, you get an accounting degree. That's $50,000 a year out of college. And I said, oh, word? I could do that. Let me do that. Man, I didn't even make it halfway through the semester when I realized I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. I sat down at my desk in my dorm room at Southern University, and I sat there for 6 hours going through the entire course catalog saying, I have to find a degree. Yeah. I have to find a degree that I can commit 4 years of my life to because I know if I'm not passionate about it, I'm just going to quit school. I'm just going to quit school, go back to New Orleans, and just get a job. So I sat there like all night one night and was like, well, I like art. I like art enough to pay to get a degree in it. So I switched majors in the middle of the year. In the middle of my first semester, freshman year, I switched majors. And thankfully, I was able to do it that quick. Yeah. Because I know people that get 2-3 years in and be like, this isn't it. I can't do it. So
they have to actually start their major before they be like, nah, that's not it.
Exactly. So I lucked up and realized that quick enough to where, okay, I need to switch now and do this for my own sanity. So that's why I switched from accounting to art my freshman year, 2007. And that's how I got back into art. Yeah. And the beauty of the art degree at Southern is that it wasn't a concentration degree. Your independent study in your senior project was a concentration, but everything else was general fine arts. So we're going to teach you everything. We're going to teach you art history. We're going to teach you drawing. We're going to teach you ceramics, sculpture, printmaking, graphic design. We're going to give you a little bit of everything. That way, when you graduate, you can just go out and have your hand in whatever you want to do. You can have like at least a foot in the door of whatever discipline you want to go into. And so, oddly enough, when I started the program, I wanted to do graphic design. And a year into the program, that was when Jindal got elected and the budget cuts came and professors were getting fired left and right, furloughed. They got rid of a lot of programs and they got rid of the person who taught graphic design at Southern. So I was already a year into the program and I had to pivot. So I was like, well, I'm not switching because I do still love art. But I can't do graphic design because Southern won't pay the professors because fucking Bobby Jindal.
Yeah.
But
Payush.
Payush. Yeah, let's call him by your government name. Your mama named you Payush, I'm gonna call you Payush, god damn it. But so I had to pivot from graphic design to something that I liked within the program, which is printmaking, taught by Professor Yuba, who was the head of the department. She was the assistant head of the department at the time. Or was she the head? I'm not 100% sure. But she was of authority in the department. And I remember the first class I took under her was design, because she taught introduction to design and the second design, and she also taught printmaking. And the first design class, anybody who's ever taken an art class knows about that first critique, that first group critique, where it's like, okay, you do a project, and instead of you turning it into the professor and she grades it, no, we're gonna put your piece on the pedestal, and everybody in the room is gonna pick your shit apart. We're gonna judge your work. We're gonna tell you everything that's wrong with it. And that first critique, as an artist in a group setting, it's like, I can equate it to the first time you try skateboarding and you really fall down. It's like, once you have that first fall, you realize if this is going to be for you. Because I remember I tried skateboarding and I fell down for real, for the first time. And I said, nope, this ain't for me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to risk life and limb. Try to land a fucking trick. But whoever wants to do it, more power to you, go forward. But to have something that you spent so much time creating be literally picked apart piece by piece by, at this point, 12 strangers who you do not know and a person of authority who you don't have a rapport with. It's like, it can be demeaning at points, but it's the ultimate like teaching lesson, the ultimate learning opportunity, because all these people see this thing that you made from a completely different perspective that you didn't see going into making this project. So it opens your mind up to different creative avenues that you can take moving forward. So,
and that's the quote says, I'm an artist, I'm sensitive.
Exactly. Every artist is sensitive about their shit. No matter what they tell you, they feel the type of way about how you feel about what they made. Period. With a T. Shout out to the City Girls. But like, after that first critique, I was like, I made it through this. I can make it through anything else. Like, there's nothing that can stop me with this art. So fast forward through 5 years, because I tried to pick up a minor, but more budget cuts came and I couldn't finish my minors. So that's why it took me 5 years instead of 4 years to finish my degree. But fast forward through that, I graduate, did not like painting while I was in college. Like, I took the classes and didn't really learn much. I learned more about color from my design professor than my painting professor. And I graduated and I had all these supplies. And I said, okay, I got a bunch of canvas, I got a bunch of paint. I'm not really making money right now. Like, I'm waiting tables, but it is what it is. So let me just paint. Let me just use this shit that I have. And I'm just going to paint until I run out of supplies. And I painted and I started selling art. And I said, oh, people like this. Well, I guess I'll just paint until I run out of ideas. And the ideas kept coming. And they kept coming. They kept coming. And I started getting shows. And I started, expanding what I was doing with visual art. And I said, oh, okay, well, I guess I should start kind of taking this a little bit seriously. And so I'm doing shows in New Orleans. This is after I graduated, I moved back to New Orleans, and I'm doing shows in New Orleans. I'm mingling. I'm using the social skills that I learned in college to kind of make connections in New Orleans, not just through art, but to come back to the music, through the music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to concerts, linking up with people that I haven't met before. I'm going to clubs. I never forget this. To this day, I remember all through college, I didn't have a car. I was, getting rides back and forth here and there. But while I was in college in Baton Rouge, in New Orleans, I had learned about this event called The Tipping Point, hosted by DJ Rockaway. And I was like, man, one of these days, I'm going to get to the tipping point. And I swear it's going to change my life. Because I had been hearing, I just heard stories about this venue, DJ Rockaway and his mixes. And I was like, one day I'm going to get there. So, graduate, get to New Orleans, finally get my car. And I get my car I want to say maybe September 2012, I get my first car. And I knew exactly what I was doing. I got that car on a Tuesday. I said, Wednesday I'm going to Southern. I'm coming back. Friday I'm going to the tipping point. There's nothing. I finally have a reason. I don't need a ride. I am on my fucking way. Yeah. And when I tell you that going to the tipping point literally changed the trajectory of my life, because I had never heard a DJ like DJ Rockaway before in my life, in real life. Spin so many records. Like I told you, I like everything. I like every genre. And this man will play every genre. He's the first person I heard blend Crime Mob with Prince and make it go so seamlessly. Yeah. And I was mind blown from that point. I said, yo, this is incredible. But the people I've met through just going to the tipping point, all of the friends I made in New Orleans. I didn't know New Orleans had an underground hip hop scene until going to the tipping point to hear Rockaway spinning records from people in New Orleans, from New Orleans, making hip hop today. Yo, I didn't know this existed before now. So I'm thankful for that experience. I'm thankful for how that shaped me, because I met the people that pushed me towards not only making art, but not making visual art, but making poetry, because that helped me meet Jocelyn and Irie. We became the Rose Bush. We put on Power Lines. And that was the open mic that we had.
I haven't seen Jocelyn in so long.
Yeah, man. She moved to Nevada. She's back in Nevada to be close to her parents. But, man, just like I said, being with the Rose Bush and hosting an open mic for damn near 3 years, being connected with so many people through that at Black Star Cafe. Mm-hmm. Just
shout out to Black Star.
Shout out to Black Star, man. For real. The New Orleans underground is something that's it's transient, but it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. However you could be a part of it.
Nah, and I think so. That New Orleans underground scene is crazy. And you'll never know who you're going to run into when you're in there. Because the thing is, the New Orleans underground scene, even though it's underground, you might run into, a few years ago, J Electronica, pops up there, or when during the All-Star weekend, I remember everybody was running through the shows. What was it? Was it the Fresh Market on Wednesdays?
That was the Jazz Market.
The Jazz Market on Wednesdays used to be crazy.
With Cool Nasty, hosted by DJ Paul, DC Paul.
Yeah. Then you would have Tip Tina's, Black Star. Mm-hmm. It's all this type of stuff that is just
Soul Sister on Saturdays, Rockaway on Fridays. Legatron on Saturdays as well.
You just mixing so many people, so many different things.
Pink Room.
At
the High Hole, yeah.
I remember
Ascendance.
Yeah.
I just want to go outside again. I want to be outside so badly, bro. I just want to dance amongst my people, bro.
It's crazy because I stayed in New Orleans twice. Well, I won't say New Orleans. I never stayed in New Orleans. I stayed in River Ridge for a summer, and I stayed in Harahan for like 4 or 5 months. Yeah. But it's like, of course, when you stay in River Ridge and when you stay in Harahan, you're not ever staying in River Ridge and Harahan except to sleep.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing with living in the East, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I was in the East literally just to sleep. If I wasn't in the studio working on art, I was at an event. I was at somebody's event supporting. I was at a concert. Or I was throwing my own motherfucking event.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, man, the New Orleans creative scene is something I'm glad to have been a part of. And I can't say I'm still a part of it because I'm in Baton Rouge. I'm being a father, being a husband, and COVID. I haven't been able to be re-ingratiated back in that scene like I want to. But this year, I really am trying to strive to be back into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just an energy about that city, bro. Like, I love being born and raised in New Orleans. And, like, there's just a natural sense of creativity of people in that area that it strives you to grow so fucking much. And just in the conversations and people, like you say, you never know who you're going to meet in the New Orleans underground. And just, not even the underground, just the 2 degrees of separation that exists in New Orleans.
Literally.
Like, I've met so many people just being in a room with somebody that I'm cool with. Somebody hit me up and be like, hey, follow through this spot. And when I was in them streets. When I was in them streets, that's how it would be. I would get off work. I'd be off work at 6. I might get a little painting done from 7 till 8, 9 o'clock. And then from 9 to maybe 2, I'm in the streets.
Yeah.
I'm at 3-4 people's events, hanging out, just mingling,
but I mean,
whatever,
like that. But that's how I met you.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, half of my friends now I know because I guess the first point would be Ronald Myers. Because me and Ronnie grew up in the same neighborhood.
Put a pin in Ronnie, but that's 100% correct.
It's like me and Ronnie grew up in the same neighborhood. So funny story. Like, I went to Bethany Christian school for high school. Mm-hmm. Not that many black people. Literally, the first day of school, I came there in 9th grade. I'm sitting there in the back of the little auditorium by myself. Ronnie see me, and Ronnie walk up with, like, the other black dudes who are seniors. Yeah. And they basically, like, take me under their wing. Like, come sit with us. Yeah. I would sit with them at lunch, everything. And then Ronnie is 4 years older than me. Yeah. When I graduate, I go to Southern. Ronnie's there. Mm-hmm. So Ronnie's like, all right, come to the Union. So I go to the Union, and it's like, I remember, it's like Ronnie used to be, they used to be doing the Slope 51 stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, I would meet, like, Michael Collins, Luke St. John. Eventually, the way I met you and Ziggy is because Ronnie found out that me and Ziggy had the same birthday, and I wasn't doing anything for my birthday. So at the Palisades, Ziggy was doing tacos and tequila. TNT at the Palisades, and Ronnie was like, come through. Yeah. And so, like, that was the first time, like, I met, like, you and Ziggy, Dez, all of them. Same thing with, like, Sage. But it's like Ronnie was basically, like, my introductory point to half of the people who are, like, my best friends now.
Very much the same. Like, Ronnie was... Shout out to Ronnie Meyer. Shout out to Ronnie Meyer. Ronnie was a catalyst for a lot of friendship because he was just a very social person. Mm-hmm. I know Ronnie because of... He was... excuse me. He was I forget what they call him, an ambassador or whatever. He was an orientation leader at Jaguar Preview. And this was, I remember I went to like either the first or it was the first Jaguar preview. And that was when I met a whole lot of dudes from St. Aug. Like that's when I got cool with a whole lot of dudes from St. Aug. But Rodney was one of the orientation leaders at Jaguar Preview, and he knew everybody. And so after Jaguar Preview, you come back in when school starts, and you're a freshman, and I'm in the circle talking to Rodney, and Ziggy pulls up. Shout out to Ziggy.
Shout out to Ziggy.
Shout out to Ziggy. Ziggy walks up, and I'm talking to Rodney. Ziggy walks up, and I got a pack of Oreos in my hand. And we all talking, and I'm like, hey, what's up, man? You want some of these Oreos? Ever since then, me and Ziggy been like this, bro. Like, we've been tight as fuck ever since then, just off the strength of Ronnie. Ronnie has connected so many people in Baton Rouge, and I don't think he knows the extent of how much he's been like a plug for people in this area.
It's like, because like for me, it was just like, I don't want to say it was like a big brother thing, but Ronnie always felt the need to look after me because he knew my older brother. And like I said, we come from the same neighborhood and everything. So like when I get on Southern campus, like I'm a super friendly person. I'll talk to anybody. But it's like, you know, when you're a freshman, you're trying to figure out, especially at HBCU, who is your tribe?
Exactly.
There's so many different groups of people on Southern's campus. So many different people from different places coming to form these little cliques. Yeah. And so you're trying to figure out who is your tribe. And Ronnie's like, come over here. And so I remember just going to the Union and talking about like XXL freshman lists and stuff like this, making beats, freestyling in cars, all this type of stuff. And just like being because of Ronnie. Yeah. And like I think about like New Orleans, and basically like most of my connections through New Orleans are because of Ronnie or because of Sage. Yeah. And so like I think about like people like Dimps, that's because of Sage. And I think about like Jocelyn, that's because of Sage. It's
what I'm saying. Like the 2 degrees of separation for me. Sage is because of Ziggy. Because me and Ziggy were roommates. You know what I'm saying? And Ziggy is through Ronnie. So it's by proxy. Jocelyn is, for me, it's because of the tipping point. Yep. And that's one of my close friends. Like one of my closest friends. Me, her, Ari, and Tim. We the Rose Bush. Like all this stuff is intertwined and intermingled. And it's so wild how it is intertwined and intermingled. But back to like finding your tribe, especially at HBCU, because I've been lucky enough to be in predominantly black educational environments my entire life.
See, I didn't have that. I didn't have that.
It's like from kindergarten, except for Katrina year, my junior in high school, it's been all black. McMain was predominantly black. Oddly enough, the area of New Orleans that I live in is grossly populated by Vietnamese people. And I rode the school bus to McMain, and on my school bus was about 64 kids. I was one of 3 black people on that bus. Everybody else on that school bus was Vietnamese, and I knew every single one of those kids by name. Like, and I took pride in that personally because a lot of the kids at school did not know them by name because they tried to like, you know, stereotype and pigeonhole all the Vietnamese people saying they look alike, this, that, and the third. No, I know all of these people individually as people because we all live in the same area and all of these people are individual people. So from a young age, I was able to respect people's individuality. And I think that helped me learn to be such a sociable person in college because me and Ziggy as roommates, we connected with a lot of people throwing house parties and throwing not even house parties, just on Fridays people knew to come to our spot at Southern. Like just on Wednesdays and Fridays, come by Ziggy and Trav. We're gonna drink, we're gonna listen to good music, more than likely, we're gonna listen to some Tribe. That's how we connect. Me, Ziggy, Sage, Reggie, Jimmy, like all of us connected through Tribe. Like This was the first piece, the first turntable that I made because I said, Tribe is what kind of like built the friendships that I have in my adulthood.
Yeah.
So let me make a piece that speaks to that pays homage to that. So it's tight that one of my close friends bought the first piece that I made.
Yeah.
That's a tribute to Tribe.
Because I mean, like, I even think about now. Out of all our friends, what, Sage may be the youngest. Sage is what, 27?
20. No, Sage is going on 29.
Nah, because Sage's birthday was just like 2 weeks ago. Sage was
Sage is 29. Sage is 29.
Okay, so I thought Sage was more than 1 year younger than me. So I guess Catherine.
Yeah.
Scotty like 27. Yeah.
Scotty is the youngest.
Okay, but like other than that, we're all basically entering our 30s or already in our 30s.
Yeah.
And I think about when we get together. Mm-hmm. When we get together is normally surrounding some type of music and food.
Yep.
And that's literally it. And it's crazy because I think even somebody like Sage who works in like music, fashion and stuff like that, so she's always around a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Most of us, our best time is spent when we're with our friends in like a small space, just kicking it, just chilling. Which is why this podcast, this episode right here is just like so good for me. Because it's basically just hanging with your friend talking about stuff we would normally talk about anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's crazy because like when you think about that, like that building that tribe, I also think about just how that's a part of everyday like life and growing. Basically, like when you're growing up, you're trying to figure out like who's my tribe, who are the people I'm gonna be with. Like that's gonna be my wedding. That's gonna be helping to take care of my kids. That's just gonna be my friends for the rest of my life. What is like my career path gonna be like? What am I gonna do to make money? Like all these different things, and you're normally trying to figure that stuff out like in high school and college. And so it's weird because like basically before college, I spent half of my time in like public school in Baton Rouge. And if you go to public school in Baton Rouge, it's predominantly black. Mm-hmm. But I spent the other half of the time in private Catholic or Christian schools where it's like my graduating class had like 5 or 6 black people. But like if you look at a high school, which is like 300 people, it's probably like 30 of us. Yeah. And so I remember when I got to Southern, there was this point where I was coming from Bethany, and I got these white people telling me like, man, you the whitest black dude I know. But then I get to the Southern, and it's like black people like, bro, you the whitest black dude I know. And I'm just like, bro, I can get along with anybody. Exactly. Like, I just do this. Exactly. But understandably, it's like, I remember when I came on campus, I'm wearing skinny jeans, I'm wearing Tums. And like at that time in 2009, basically that was new. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, of course I look awkward standing out where you got people, of course it's something, you got the like Afrocentric people, they selling dashikis and wooden chains over here and the little she sell necklaces and stuff like that.
And then you got your super fashion forward
people.
Like shout out to Terrence.
Yeah, shout out to Terrence.
Terrence was always 10 years ahead of everybody.
And I think what did Terrence start with you or did Terrence start with me?
Terrence was a year before me because he was orientation leader at my Jaguar.
Okay, because I remember Terrence when they started doing my freshman year, they started doing a whole bunch of fashion shows on campus. Mm-hmm. And Terrence and there was this other girl, Michaela Blake, shout out to Michaela, Raina Price, Lachelle Johnson, like this group of people, they all came in with me. And they're with Terrence because they're all doing these little fashion shows. Yeah. And so my freshman year, I was around Terrence a lot because number one, I was still trying to get comfortable with being around predominant groups of black people and experiencing, like I come from a black family. Like we have the traditional black experience, but being able that I was able to be exposed to other types of life and other types of things, it's like I've always been like an eccentric kid, an eccentric person, just loving different things. And so when you trying to, and then it didn't help, but I came to Southern, I was dating a white girl at the time. And so it was funny because when I got on campus, it was just like...
So you went down with the sisters?
Exactly! It was like, he only date white women. I'm like, I dated
Okay, Michael B. I see you.
And so, but it was funny because I'm trying to like get down with women. I'm trying to, my whole thing was, I felt like when I got to Southern, I was gonna find like there's two women in like before my fiance. There's two women in my life that I'm just like they're the top of the line. These are the most beautiful women that ever walked the planet. Number one is Pam Grier, and number two is Lisa Bonet.
I could respect.
And so when I got to Southern, I was like, I'm about to find my Pam Grier, Lisa Bonet. And I remember there's a girl, I'm not gonna name her name.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is it right here.
Yeah.
But I was still awkward trying to figure out how do I exist around these people. Because it's like, yeah, sometimes I go into rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. And I might go into a rabbit hole about some punk rock that ain't nobody gonna understand.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but me going to Southern helped me become the person I am today because you were mentioning earlier about being in the art program and they connected you to so many different things. Mm-hmm. They didn't just have you with like a general concentration. And like I studied political science, but one thing I learned about political science is, especially at Southern, learning at HBCU, political science can prepare you for any career in the world. You just got to know how to sell yourself for it. Mm-hmm. And so one thing that they did was, it was like, yeah, you learn about politics, but my intro to American government class is not only a political science class, but it's also a history class. Mm-hmm. It's also a sociology class. Yeah. It's also psychology. And so I think about having those experiences of your HBCU, Southern University for both of us, helping us to find our tribe, but to also help us figure out exactly where we wanted to be. And they did it not only through the traditional forms of education, but through like non-traditional forms of just the professors telling us like, we doing this because of this reason.
Yeah.
And us being able to take that experience and now use it to try to get somewhere. And so I think where I want to go now is, so now you're an adult. I remember when you were in Colorado, you were doing a whole bunch of like different art, trying to do things. But I think the very first piece of art that I remember of yours, probably not the first piece I saw, but the first one I remember is you had the Paiute wooden stamp. Mm-hmm. And so I think I would be remiss if we didn't talk about your stamp collections on this podcast, because that was one of the things that when we first became friends, Travis, our soul life is known for stamps.
Yeah.
So, and I think you got one with you, right? Did you bring a stamp?
Yeah, I got one.
So let me see this stamp.
I do have
so
this one.
So the camera can see it. We can see this right here.
So this is Anderson .Paak. This is one of my favorite artists out right now, Anderson .Paak. The thing about this one is I made the template, like the outline and everything for this piece, maybe 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I sat with it for...
Yes, Lord!
Yeah,
I see it.
I sat with it for a while because I didn't know where I wanted to take it. I knew I didn't want to be flattened. I didn't want to be 2D. I was tired of the old, I guess you can say, way of how I made stamps.
Yeah.
And it's funny, the story of how I came about the stamps is funny because it's 100% unorthodox. When I was in New Orleans, I was working for another artist named Chris Roberts Antio, and 100% I'm forever indebted to Chris as far as just being a person who was there to support all of my creative endeavors. I was working for her for my 9 to 5. After I stopped waiting tables in New Orleans, I was working for her as a framer in her gallery, doing all of her custom framing along with one other person. Shout out to Melissa. But outside of doing her framing, she believed in where I was going with my art so much that she said, after hours, I can use the frame shop as my studio to make my art. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would do. Like, I would work from 10 to 6 or 9 to 6 for her. And then from like 6 to 12, most weekdays, I was working on my stuff in the studio that she had basically lent me for free. And I remember one day where we were making frames was out in Metairie. And she moved where we were making frames from Metairie to Magazine Street, where she got this half gallery, half frame shop. And so the day we were moving, we went to Outback Steakhouse. And before when we all got saddened, I said, well, let me go wash my hands before we, eat and everything. And in the bathroom at Outback, there were these Australian stamps on like wooden panels in the bathroom. And I was just using the bathroom, looking at these like just laser printed stamps, like, that's interesting. I feel like I can do something with that. I'm gonna just put a pin in that and come back to it later. And so I did exactly that. And I want to say I went and ate my steak, went to sleep, didn't think anything about it. The next day I woke up and I was like, okay, what are we gonna do with this? Because I can do something with this. So with the stamps, I came up with the concept of, okay, how do you convey your creative ideas through the visual aesthetic of a stamp? So it's like, okay, in order to send any type of package or postage to somebody, you need to pay for the specific postage. You need to pay for the stamps. You need to secure the amount of funds needed to send your idea to somebody. So I said, well, if I'm going to send my idea to somebody, why not I make a visual representation of me sending my idea to you? Let me put this idea that I have onto a stamp. That way it can be universally shipped. It can be shipped all across the globe, and anybody across the globe can grasp the concept of something being presented to you on a stamp. And that's where I came with. That's where I was coming from with the idea of the stamp. And I was doing stamps from maybe, I'd say late 2013, early 2014 up till 2018. I cut this outline for this stamp in 2018. I just hadn't had anything to put on it until 2020.
Yeah.
But I stopped doing stamps in 2020 because I realized that at the job that I'm working now, it expanded my mind creatively because I still do woodworking. I still make things out of wood. And I'm learning the processes of basically wood sculpture. And during COVID, I've been able to take the things I learned at my job and apply it to my creative applications and move my art from a flat 2D surface into a 3D realm. And that's kind of been my sticking point, is because during COVID, I've transitioned from 2D to 3D, but during COVID, in order to see 3D, you got to be there in person. Everybody can't be there in person because of, motherfuckers might be carriers, and you want to protect your family, you want to protect your loved ones, is that the third. So that's where I'm at now. Trying to figure out how to present artwork that has been transitioned into a 3D space. When the medium for presenting the artwork isn't in a 3D space, technically. Like Instagram, Twitter, and all that, you see what I'm doing, but until you get face to face with what I'm doing, you can't really see what I'm doing. But I think I've kind of figured a way out of getting people to see what I'm doing in a physical realm.
Yeah.
And
so you kind of went in, because that was something I wanted to ask you about, specifically like how has COVID impacted your art, but also just like your everyday life, because basically it's January. For the last 10 months, we've all, I'm not going to say we all, because obviously people not following rules, but we have supposed to have been confined to our homes. And so I can understand, I could see if COVID possibly robbed some people of like inspiration, but I can also see a place where COVID inspired some people to see some things that they wouldn't normally see, or be able to do some things they wouldn't normally do. So how has that impacted your life, number one, as a husband and a father, but then number two, you kind of spoke on how has that impacted you as an artist?
So, as a husband and a father, it's impacted me in a way that I think has helped, because, like, there isn't really a reason for me to be outside of the house, outside of work.
Yeah.
So I'm home, I'm with my kids. Like, I go to work, I come home, and it's be my wife and my kids, and I'm able to give my kids that personal time that they need to develop their brains and connect with all of us and build that family time, because that's the main thing. Like, the art, I love it, I need it, everything this, that, and the third, but my family comes first.
Right.
And I have to have that time with my family. So COVID, especially in these early years, like I was telling you, my oldest is about to be 3, my youngest is about to be 1. These very early formative years, them knowing that daddy is here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, just having the idea in their brain and knowing for a fact that daddy is here and daddy is going to be here has been imperative in my life. You know what I'm saying? So,
and for me, I still had some certain success in 2020, but it was like right at the end of the year, I think I ended up like 4 people I personally know end up dying from COVID. And then like right at the beginning of this year, somebody else that I know personally died. Yeah. Then it's like had to pay money to get my car fixed. That was like $1,800. Then had to pay to get my wisdom teeth taken out. That was like $1,300. And it's like I'm thankful for having steady employment during this pandemic, and being like me getting the stimulus helped me, but it was like I didn't need it. Yeah. And so it's like COVID was weird for a lot of people. But being able to be a father at home and actually be with your kids during those formative years, it has to be a great feeling. So it's like we actually gonna be wrapping up soon. So I think one of the other things that I would like to just discuss is like where you see your art going, like I guess from now into the future, and where you would like to see yourself in like 10 years.
So going into the future, I feel like this year is going to be a really good year. I have an idea about something that I want to create. Mm-hmm. I can't really give that much detail on it right now, but within the next maybe 3 months, the first couple of like prototypes are going to be made. And I feel like what I'm doing going forward, like taking my art into a 3D space, essentially doing sculptures and paintings in one, is really changing the trajectory of where my art is going. Yeah. Like I said, I can't really speak too much on it because I want it to be a surprise.
And that's fine.
And when people see it, people are going to be like, oh, this makes 100% sense based on what you've done and where you're going. Because like I said, like the woodworking has become a priority in my life. Like I like to build things. Mm-hmm. Just period. I like to build things. I like to build things out from a flat drawing to something that you can stand up and look at and be like, oh my God, this used to be just an idea.
Which that reminds me, I have to build an outside bench for my fiance.
For the springtime, I have to build a sectional for the back patio. So that's on my list of things that need to be built. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. But with this art, man, like COVID gave me the time to sit down and really focus on the art. Like I was supposed to do a show in May of 2020. Essentially my return to the Louisiana art scene was supposed to be May of 2020. Mm-hmm. And COVID shut that shit completely down and essentially gave me an entire year of reconfiguring what I'm going to do. So imagine somebody being ready for something and then getting an extra 365 days to prepare for something, for that same thing. So it's like, okay, it was gonna be good in May of 2020, but in June or July of 2021, it's gonna be incredible, and that's just a little seed to plant in people's head.
No,
June and July of 2021. Just be on the lookout.
I'm looking.
Art Soul Life is coming.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I always tell people, maybe the best party that I've ever been to in my life was the Art Soul Life art show, and that was Whiskey and Woodgrain. Art everywhere around, live performances, food, all that. Probably the best party I've ever been to in my life. We know in amongst our friend group, there's so many videos and fun stories that exist of that night. So I'm looking forward to July 2021 to see what's next for you. But is there anything else that you just want to relate to the people before we wrap up?
I mean, just follow me. Just follow where I'm going, where I'm taking the art. You know what I'm
Speaking of that, what is your social media information?
Okay, Twitter and Instagram, I'm Art Soul Life, ArtSoulLife. Twitter and Instagram, that's where you can find me. My website is artsoullife.com, spelled the same way. It's also my online shop. I'm currently in the process of putting all of my current pieces that are available for sale on my online shop, because honestly, in 2021, I'm also looking for somebody to take the reins on the digital presence of me, so I can just focus on creating, because I've learned also in this time that I can't spread myself too thin. Like if I can focus as much of myself on the art, that's what I'm gonna do. So,
look, I get it. That's why JJ is behind the camera back there. Shout out to JJ. Tell people, say what's up.
What's up?
Y'all hear JJ behind the camera? Because I too believe in not spreading myself too thin. But I also believe in supporting other creatives. So y'all make sure y'all look out for JJ, because he's a great creative as well. Word. But like Travis just told y'all, his Instagrams, Twitter, his website. So you're going to put all your current pieces that are available on the website?
Yeah. Everything new that I do is going to go up on the website predominantly. I'm on social media to mostly promote and talk to people, because I like to talk to people. That's how I connect now in these COVID times, until we can get out in these streets and I can talk to you face to face. But social media is where it's at right now.
Did you brought two more pieces besides this one?
Yeah. I brought a few more. This is my turntable, one of my replica turntables. This one is called Strike Through. This one you can hang up on your wall and use it as a display piece. It fits all, full size 12-inch vinyl records. And same as this one right here that Eugene has purchased from your boy. Also, this is another one of my newer pieces. This one is called the Midas Touch. This was an all gold replica MPC that I did very recently in my latest release of pieces. I'm really proud of this one, to be honest with you. I don't make beats. I'm not very musically inclined, but I use my art to convey the message that I am musically inclined. So that's where I'm at with it. This one is called Midas Touch, like I said. And all of these pieces are on my website. They will be available on my shop before really soon, the next couple of days. So by the time this episode goes out, all of my pieces should be 100% on my shop.
All right, well, so we gonna wrap up right there. So, like, number one, I want to thank you for coming. Like I said, y'all, Travis, one of my best friends. So I've been waiting to have this conversation with you. So I thank you for coming, so we can put it on. And number one, allow the people to know who you are. But number two, to also allow me to continue flexing my creative bones and get some things out, because I truly believe in storytelling. If people know me, if you follow me, like I have political articles out there, all kind of stuff. I'm working actually on a book, a great idea about like Louisiana history. It's a little it's fiction, but I'm putting some legit historical pieces in there also. So I'm super thankful that you were here today. Thank you for coming, my brother. Y'all, on that note, I'm going to sign out. As I always say, don't hurt your brother, help your brother. You help your sister, you help yourself. This was episode 1 of season 2 of the Things Fall Apart podcast.